All right, we're now joined by EastBayRay, of course, founder, guitarist, Dead Kennedys, and the killer Smiles. How are you today, Ray?
I'm okay under the circumstances.
Yes, quite an interesting year, to say the least. Well, let's get a little background before we talk about the new killer Smiles. I know growing up in California, you used to play, rockabilly, or were influenced by surf guitar, Of course, we had the Ventures and Dick Dale and all that, and, Marconi with the spaghetti westerns, all that. Talk a little bit about your influences growing up. What, what styles of music you kind of accustomed to?
Oh, well, actually there was good music in my parents' house. My father was into Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and also into Delta blues from the 30s. So I heard that around the house. My mom was into the Weavers and Pete Seeger, and Frank Sinatra, the singing. And I remember one time my dad took my little brother and I to see Lightning Hopkins play. That was amazing. That was amazing. So I had that music there, and then the teenagers in the neighborhood were playing like Fats Domino. My sister had Ray Charles records. Plus, growing up in California, there was surf music around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess when I got older, I actually like in the 70s, I kind of went back and I guess I'm an anachronism. I went back and listened to collected 60 like bought records. So most of my collection was like, soul music. There's some 70s bands. I like the Ohio Players in the 70s, funk music. But I went back and got Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf records from the 50s, and Elvis's Sun Session is amazing. Scotty Moore, the guitar player, had an Echo Rec, I think it's called, amp, Echosonic amp that had a built-in tape echo, and he was one of the influences for me to buy an Echoplex echo unit. At the time growing up, though, I didn't really understand Duke Ellington or Frank Sinatra, but later in life, I listened to him with an open mind, and it's like Frank Sinatra has amazing phrasing and musical phrasing. And he can take the dumbest lyrics and make you believe them, or make it sound like he believes them. So anyway, all that. Oh yeah, and my brother and a friend of mine, we used to watch country western programs like Hee Haw and Grand Ole Opry or whatever. I don't know, can't remember. Porter Wagner show. I don't know when these things were, or whether I watched them in reruns or not. But it was so. I think most musicians I know listen to a wide variety of music, and it influences what they're actually doing. I used to, driving the Dead Kennedys practice across the Bay Bridge from the East Bay to San Francisco, I used to listen to Merle Haggard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What was it about the Ohio Players and funk music? You just like that jangly rhythm guitar, that real funky sound?
Yeah, the bass player and drummer are amazing in Ohio Players. Skin Tight, Fire.
Yeah.
It's actually more, the rhythm section. The guitar players in the James Brown band are pretty good. I think when I saw him, he had 3 guitar players all playing different lines that interlock.
Well, I understood you used the age-old tool, the recycler, when you put together the Dead Kennedys. So many bands down here in Southern California were formed through the recycler, the Bangles and Motley Crue and everybody. Talk a little bit about, putting that group together. Finding the players. The recycler. You used the recycler, right, to find players for the band?
No, I did not.
Oh, the Dead Kennedys. You didn't find the members that way?
Oh no, there was a different newspaper up here. I see what you're saying. Yeah, there was a different musician paper here in the Bay Area,
Okay.
And yeah, I put an ad in there, and Biafra and Klaus responded to that ad.
Okay. Yeah, we have something down here called the Recycler. In Wikipedia, it says that, but not quite accurate. I remember BAM magazine.
Wikipedia is not accurate?
What do you believe? You know, but I know you guys had quite a scene at the BAM Music Awards. That must have been a crazy one. But
yeah, that was fun.
Of course, down here, you know, we had KRock Radio, Rodney on the Rock, and all that, and he supported you guys right from the beginning. You know, Holiday in Cambodia, Too Drunk to Fuck, California Ubayales. I mean, we'd hear that all the time, you know, on KRock, which was such an influential station. You remember the first time you guys came down to LA and felt that?
Yeah. I mean, we went to LA a lot because the San Francisco LA scenes are very close. But I do remember KRock as we were driving into town and in Hollywood, and the sun was out, and Holiday in Cambodia came on the radio from KRock. So that's for any kind of rock band, that's always a high point in your career when you like been, you know, working in a rehearsal studio and small clubs, and then you know you make a record and you get that record out, and then you're just like standing, you know, like I say, driving around. I wish it was a convertible, then it would have been classic LA. But then hearing your song on a, you know, KRock, which is to my mind was the major station in LA.
Yeah.
To hear that come on was just like a high, just like, yes.
It's kind of surreal. You have to do a double take. Like, am I hearing what I'm hearing? Is that us?
But I guess, you know, then they kept playing. It wasn't just one, so that was good. but like I say, for any, you know, musician in a rock pop type band, on the, you know, to hear your record, your first record. Well, that was our second record. Your second, you know, first time on a major radio station. It's like, okay, we've gone up a notch. You know,
right?
People are listening. People are listening to what we're doing.
Well, I know back then, like I say, I was up in the Northwest, the Seattle, Vancouver area, and I used to come down to San Francisco and see you guys at the Mabuhay Gardens. And I know it was quite a DIY, you know, indie punk rock scene back then, where you'd kind of go to other cities and compare notes on who the promoters were and who the cool college station DJs are and everything. What were your best memories of, you know, those days, that whole DIY scene?
Oh boy. Long pause. I don't know. It's just so, I mean, the thing I remember, like, we had the Mabuhay Gardens here in San Francisco, and which is kind of like the CBGBs of San Francisco. And the thing I liked about it, there was kind of a golden age in the beginning, where there would be a punk band, an art band, and a new wave band would all play the same bill. And let's talk about this with Penelope Houston of the Avengers. We were talking about that. The thing is so they'd all bring a different crowd, and so, but they would all intermingle and influence everybody. And it's kind of like the salons in Paris back when the Impressionists were painting, or not the Impressionists, the modern, like Cubists, Picasso and Matisse. But they would all, you know, hang out and drink wine together and talk, and then go off and paint. So that was really the golden age. We did not know it. You know, we thought this is how it was supposed to be. But then by about 82, the scenes kind of split apart. You know, there would be art band shows and new wave shows and punk shows, and consequently, I think the music probably got a little less interesting because it didn't have all the spices and the mixtures that come from that.
Now, coming from rockabilly and surf, what was it about punk rock that appealed to you? Was it just the energy? It's taking that fast music?
Yeah, actually, it was the energy. As a musician, one of the things I discovered is when I hear music that really touches me, the little hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. That kind of like I remember I had a friend when we were older, we went and saw the Everly Brothers up at Tahoe. That was fun. And then actually, because I getting into my mom's friends, I went and saw Tony Bennett. I went to see Tony Bennett kind of as like a lark, and it was lounge music up in. I've also seen Don Ho, so who was he was a lark and satire. But Tony Bennett, he just had a piano player and a bass player, and they came out and started, and it was so good that it wasn't lounge music anymore, and the little hairs at the end of my neck stood on end. So I was in San Francisco, with some friends, and walked by the MAB. This is the first time I was in the MAB, and a band from LA was playing, the Weirdos. And I walked in, and they were like, the energy and stuff, and the little hairs in the back of my neck stood in. And that's from that, I went and put an ad in the paper. And my goal was to have the best punk band in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But now we're international. We're nationwide. No, we're not nationwide. We're international wide.
You're intergalactic.
Intergalactic, possibly. Yeah, I like that. Aliens listening to us.
Yeah. Well, you've had a hell of a run, and I know that leads us to the Killer Smiles. What was the idea, to have this side group? Obviously Ron Greer, aka Skip, from the DKs is with you, but you also got Steve and Greg in there with you. What was the idea, and the impetus to put together the Killer Smiles?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of always making riffs and writing music. And I had stuff. I have a box of cassettes with guitar riffs on them, and I still have a cassette player. And I don't know. I just basically, I've done some recording projects with like Head P and Dave Dalton's band, the Screaming Bloody Marys, and Amanda Palmer. And then I did a Mideastern thing with Flea and Robert Fripp. I think that's in the Wikipedia article. I can't spell the name. But I wanted to do my own music, so I just pulled out stuff. And like I say, it's kind of a catalog of some of my influences, though I wasn't thinking of that at the time. But yeah, I probably should have put a blues song in and a surf instrumental in. So we just started writing songs with Skip doing the lyrics, me doing the music, and trading them. And then when they kind of got them in song shape, we got. I knew Greg and Steve from past projects and called them up and came in and recorded. And we actually did some live shows and stuff at the time, but it just became, everybody's kind of a professional musician, so they're not going to work for $20 a night and sleep on a sofa.
So you just had kind of some song ideas and some energy that didn't really fit in with the DKs. It was a little more power pop, a little more, straight ahead rock.
Yeah, I mean the thing, but some of it's from the DK, most of it's not from the DK era. But like one of the things is like back in the day, like we have the song "Moon Over Marin," which is on Plastic Surgery Disasters, and the record labels wanted to put it out as a single, which I was for, because that's like my sound. And Biafra vetoed it, because it wasn't his song. So that was kind of like, that was kind of sign. And it, even like the band The Clash.
Yeah.
One of their biggest songs is "Should I Stay, Should I Go," which is kind of simple and not really what they're usually known for, but it helped people to discover them and listen to their other stuff. So.
Right, they had a lot of different sides to them.
Yeah, right. But "Should I Stay or Should I Go" is not my favorite song of theirs.
No.
But it's their biggest. I think it's their biggest hit, possibly. Or
yeah, crossed.
If not the biggest, it's up in the top 5.
Sure.
I love "London Calling." It's a great song.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I helped put on the Clash's first shows they ever did in North America, which was up in Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Yeah, in '79. And I know from there they came down to San Francisco. That was the second, well, I guess first show ever in America, second show ever in North America. They call it the Pearl Harbor tour. They dropped like 6 bombs, 6 cities, you know, in America on that first little short tour.
Where did they play in Vancouver?
They played at the Commodore Ballroom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the
You guys
classic
ever
place.
play there?
Oh, we played back there back in the day, and we played there maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, it's a famous place on that second floor. I thought the floor was going to give way during the Clash's show. I thought we were going to end up in the laundromat.
That's old ballroom, right?
Yeah, an old ballroom, Commodore Ballroom.
It probably there's some still left
there's
over.
horsehair or something. There's a level between 2 floors, and they put horsehair in there. It's like a shock absorber, so the floor actually moves. It's like a shock absorber.
Yeah, there's I think Irving Plaza in New York's like it's old dance hall, and they made like a kind of a little bit of a, I don't know what they call it, a floor that gives.
Yeah, it's got a little flex to it. So
for the swing dancers and all that.
Yeah, it's probably a little more fun to move around than just a hard concrete surface, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Raising the Stakes, I know, is the name of the album. How'd you come up with that title? I know that's a song, but what does the Raising the Stakes mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah, how did you decide that for the title?
Oh, we were, I don't know, that was Skip's lyrics, and it's the first song. So Raising the Stakes, I guess I mean, a lot of times out of ignorance, a lot of people like accuse Klaus DH and I of like, why don't you do new music? Well, it's because they're ignorant and lazy. They don't go out and look for it. Like DH has Peligro, his band. Klaus has some eclectic solo stuff, and you know, and I actually put out an ambient music record a couple of years ago. I made post that up just for the fun of it. But it's the typecast thing, you know. Like, did I do the typecast thing with you?
Yeah, you know.
Okay.
They want to paint you in
so many interviews. You know.
They want to put you in a box, and you do everything to you know, take down the walls.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, you'd be surprised at the amount of ignorance people, because there's a lot of anger around the let's put it this way, misunderstanding, and Wikipedia is just full of like partisan bullshit that, you know, people just make up and post, you know, kind of like how Hillary had a porn ring out of a pizza parlor.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's stuff that didn't happen, you know, like the band has never ever done a commercial ever. And even when Klaus DH and I have majority vote, we have not done a commercial. Anyway, people are like, why don't you make new music? It's like, you're the idiot, you know, and they say it with an angry tone. So Raising the Stakes is like, yeah, here's new music. In fact, you know, I mean, it's this is music that EastBayRay did, and there's also music that Pelagro's done. You just have to go, you know, but they just want to be angry and put other people down rather than like, you know, look for it and even meet people halfway.
Well, I know
part of that's a problem of social media. Social media is not really about dialogue. It's really about display. You know, like people posting, you know, all the political stuff on Facebook, they usually just posting it to their friends. Posting political stuff on Facebook really doesn't do much. What you need to do is get people out and vote and go to a peaceful protest. And I underline the word peaceful, because, you know, breaking in here in Oakland, they broke into stores, mom and pop stores. That just helps Trump get more votes in the Midwest. You're helping Trump.
Yeah. Well, we need to do everything to move him out. Well, I know the great PaulLeary produced the Killer Smiles, and of course we know Paul from the legendary Sublime album and all that. And of course, he's the guitarist in the Butthole Surfers. How did he come on the radar and end up producing?
Oh, well, you know, we did a lot of shows with the Butthole Surfers, and I kind of knew him personally, so I you know, called him up, and I knew he was doing studio producing stuff seriously, because the Sublime thing gave him a big career.
Yeah.
And I called him up, and basically he wanted, you know, he gave me a DIY price as opposed to a major label price, and it was fun working with him. We recorded in different studios, and he showed up, and got to, you know, visit his house, and, you know, hang out with him in Austin, and hang out with him in LA, and hang out with him here in the East Bay. Because
Wow.
we recorded in different studios over time.
So those studios were his choice, kind of where he was comfortable or knew?
No, they were my choice.
Okay.
Because I was paying for it.
He was
But the interesting thing, where we did the basic tracks was in Burbank, and I was calling studios, and I called this one studio. I don't know why I called them. They were very, very expensive. They were a major studio, an independent studio, and the guy called up and was talking to the guy. He says, "Oh, well, we're going to be closing down the remodel and stuff." And who was in his office was Butch Vig,
Yeah.
who produced Nirvana and the
Garbage.
Star Bitch and what's Garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was in the office, and he said, "EastBayRay," he said, "you guys should do it." So what they did is they delayed their remodeling for a week, and they said, "You got 5 days. You got to get it all done in 5 days, and you're out." And so it was a really, really nice. They have, you know, all the knee stuff. But the thing I loved about the studio is that they had bought all of Marvin Gaye's equipment.
Oh,
His
wow.
outboard equipment, and that was in there. So I mean, and I'm a big Marvin Gaye fan, so it was fun. Anyway, so that's how that worked. And then I just called around some, you know, professional studios, and I mean, a lot of them. I mean, because it was PaulLeary and myself that was in charge. So the studio, basically, we just got engineers.
Right.
So as long as they had decent equipment and a decent price, we can make music and a record.
What was the name of the studio in Burbank?
I'd have to look it up.
Was it Encore? Was it over there on kind of an off street?
It was on an off street. It's a big concrete block building, kind of off by itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where we're at. We're right here in North Hollywood, Burbank area. So I was
Yeah,
curious.
it's closer to downtown Burbank.
Okay.
Not so much over the hill.
Right.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, I got you. It was probably, yeah, one of those. I always tell people, if you drive by a building that doesn't have a sign on the front of it in LA, it's probably a studio. You know, they never have a sign out front.
Yeah. And it was on a lot by itself. It wasn't next to any other buildings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good to know. And I understand this is connected to the Golden Robot guys. This is the Die Laughing label.
Yeah, Die Laughing. Dave Dalton, one of the partners in Die Laughing. We've been friends for years. You know, he was in the Screaming Bloody Marys, and I played with him. And yeah, and then they started the label, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago, and slowly building it up. And then Golden Robot liked what they were doing, so they kind of combined operations, and hopefully it'll work out. Hopefully they'll stay married.
Yeah, well, we've spoken to a number of artists on the label, and they seem to be passionate about the business, you know, in a time where it's hard to find that, you know. Yeah, the majors are in some whole nother world now, so, you know, the independents that are left, you know, they're few and far between that really know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the problems with Google and Facebook and Amazon's way they want to run the internet is their business. 5 years ago, they used to, you know, fans used to say artists need to change their business model, but really what it is Google and Facebook need to change their business model. The surveillance capitalism is going to destroy democracy. And prime example of that is Trump got elected. Without Twitter and Facebook, he would not have gotten that far. I mean, there's other things involved, but and there's been incompetent and mentally ill presidents, but nobody like him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, So anyway, but what happened is basically, you know, YouTube started giving music away for free, and the fans were like, "Oh, free music." The problem was it killed diversity. I mean, when I was doing artist advocacy, like the Latin music business used to be $600 million a year in the United States. It down to 60, 1/10 the size. And now, like, the artists, you have like really huge artists, you know, Kanye West and Taylor Swift, and then you have, you know, independent artists. I mean, that, you know, the middle class has been destroyed, but the bigger point is the diversity has been destroyed. You know, I mean, there is diversity. People are still making music, but it's just not, they're not getting support. They have to have a trust fund or something to do it. You know, it's hard to tour. Well, you know, COVID's kind of ruined that. But and the thing is music and film and journalism and novels are all still making money, but it's getting sucked off by Google, sucked off by Facebook. They put ads on it, and it's like, "Oh, we're sorry that somebody stole your music." Well, they collect the money. My idea is they should do reparations when some jerk uploads, you know, somebody's music or book and makes money off that through ads, and that's discovered. That money should go to the artist. People can still download it for free, but the money collected in the advertising, and that's what people don't get. And deliberately, Google, Facebook, and Amazon deliberately keep that information. They have algorithms spotting any kind of anti-internet stuff on. They have. I did a post, a corporate surveillance post. You know, normally I get 200 likes on my page. It got 1 like. Their algorithm spotted corporate surveillance capitalism, and shrunk the feed. And people are, you know, they're unethical. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we used to have all those great, you know, magazines and fanzines and MTVs and video shows and underground radio, and it's just, you know, it's got to these few internet platforms where there's a zillion, you know, people posting. It's just like you say, we didn't know it was the golden era back then in the, you know, late 70s and 80s. Until we went past it, we realized, you know, wow, we had something special then.
Yeah, right, yeah. And like you say, there's, I mean, the whole fanzine thing, that's how we'd find out in other towns and like call people and find out what club was happening. And yeah, that whole underground fanzine, you know, college radio system was viable. I mean, we could, you know, we didn't make, let's put it this way, we could do it and break even. You know?
Yeah. We had all the independent record stores, and, you know, everybody that had an ear, you know, a heart for, you know, indie artists.
Yeah.
Well, I know the business has constantly changed as we're talking, but as far as a new musician, you know, coming up today, a lot of them just want to point and click. They think there's an app, you know, how they can become a, you know, guitar hero overnight. You know, obviously you've been dedicated to your craft, you know, many decades. What advice do you have to the young creatives coming up today that are passionate about this, but you got to kind of school them, you know, about the dedication or, you know, the, you know, perseverance it takes?
Well, I mean, one thing I've produced and mixed bands in the studio, and one thing I suggest to them is listen to other kinds of music. Because if you just listen to punk rock or independent, whatever you're doing, it doesn't get the combining of things. I mean, like one of the things about rock and roll music, it's kind of a combination of country and western and blues and gospel kind of mushed together, and it came out this kind of Frankenstein form. And then like I mentioned earlier, I would listen to Merle Haggard on the way to cross to Dead Kennedy's practice. And the thing about his song, classic country, is the arrangement of the song. And one of the reasons Dead Kennedys lasted so long, like our song arrangement is very sophisticated. Basically, it's similar to Cole Porter and the Beatles, and Motown. they have these incredible song structures that, you know, establish something and then create a tension, and then the chorus is the release of the tension. And you know, you need to listen to the, it's funny how the classic song structure is workable in any form of music. Like the, you know, the great hip hop artists have the song structure. You know, anybody can put a drum machine on and talk and rhyme, but the ones that like touch a whole bunch of people have that song structure. As for, I think the thing that artists should do, not just musicians, is understand how the big tech has exploited creativity in this country for simple profit, and not shared. They are worse than the old record companies.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you know, there's major record companies, independent record companies. Now, some of them would rip you off, but there was other labels that didn't. This here, it's systematic. There's, you know, it's really impossible. Spotify can't really pay the artist because YouTube gives it away pays half, and they don't have to pay half. They just do it just for PR optics, PR purposes. The thing is basically Google and YouTube are asking like a fence. So they're the 1978 DM Digital Millennium Copyright Act gives them a big loophole where they're not liable for distributing someone else's stuff, which makes sense. Safe harbor is like in the mail, like if FedEx delivers a package, they don't look inside the package. There could be anything in it, you know, drugs for that matter. Same thing with the phone company, you know, mafia, you're arranging a murder over the phone company's not listening and has no financial interest in either side. The internet people have lied to Congress and lied to the judges and lied to the public because they have a finance. So if somebody uploads a thing, they're not liable, but then they put an ad on it and make money. So they're like a fence, you know, they're making money off stolen goods and distributing it. They're selling it, and that's where the, you know, it's just common sense, but they've kept that from the public, they've kept that from Congress, you know, and the thing is musicians were the canary in the coal mine. Now it's happening they're taking your data, you know, and using it to manipulate your behavior. And the answer really is your data should be your property, period. Which works for you, you know. Facebook has 52,000 data points on people, 52,000, and they make more money on fear and anger. So that's why, like in the 2016 election, there was 9 million false stories distributed on Facebook and only 8 million true stories. That is going to happen again. That is going to happen again because the way social media works is to keep you glued to the screen. And the way you keep people glued to the screen is anger and fear.
Yeah, well,
ending on that happy note.
We can only do what we can do. Well, we appreciate it all. By the way, who gave you the nickname EastBayRay? I know obviously you're Ray, you're from the East Bay, but who was the first person that called you that?
It was actually Klaus. That refers back to the ad in the paper.
Okay.
So I was looking for musicians to do a thing, and at the time I was my location was East Bay, and then my name was Ray, and I guess the way that there was this little bit of a space between EastBayRay.
Okay, they were together on the ad.
They were on a line together. It was supposed to be the location of where
the location and in your name, EastBayRay.
And Klaus just assumed that was my name, so and it stuck. So,
well, you can't get rid of it now. EastBayRay has been our guest. The Killer Smiles is the group. Raising the Stakes is the album. Go check it out online. These guys are great. And of course, check out that Dead Kennedys catalog. Ray, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Jay. It's good talking to you again. Maybe I'll see you in 5-10 years again.
Yes, we'll see you in LA.
Okay, already.
Bye-bye.